ask the questions, learn more, drink more in, and the more you know, the more you'll be able to achieve. If I don't care, good luck trying to get me to do it, but if I do care, good luck trying to stop me.
Hi, and welcome to this special live edition of What Fuels You, the place where we sit down with social impact leaders to uncover what it is that fuels them to drive more impact. I'm your host, Andrew Troup, and in this episode, I had the pleasure of sipping coffee with Gillie Fairbrother, Global Responsible Business Officer of Davies Group, live at our Corporate Social Impact Summit in London, to talk about her journey, the stories that have shaped her, and what it is that fills her cup. So let's take a sip and dive in. In general, what beverage fuels you on a daily basis? Is it coffee? Is it tea? Is it something else?
I am a massive tea fiend. I think it's probably my only hard addiction is tea. So whether that be a very good, strong cup of Yorkshire tea or a nice iced peach tea or any kind of caffeine, really.
I love that. We all need something that gets us sort of going and energized and excited.
And awake, yeah.
What's fueling you today?
It is just water today because I think hydration is also really important.
I fully agree on that. Mine's actually coffee though. So anyone knows me, what fuels me is typically just a black Americano.
It's a great mug. It's some good branding there.
Okay, now let's shift gears into all seriousness about what fuels you as a person? And let's just kind of start there a little bit. What are some of the things in life, both personally and professionally, that you find fueling you, that are bringing you some energy right now?
I think the real common theme is adversity. My earliest memory of this was I must have been 4 or 5. I went to a birthday party. I was wearing a dress that my granny had made. I've always had slightly alternative dress sense, let's say. And my dad overheard a bunch of the girls saying, dresses aren't supposed to be that. Why are you wearing that? This is not what kind of dress everyone should be wearing. And he sort of went, oh my God, what's she going to do? What's she going to say? And I said, it's supposed to be like this. But I think it's about learning along the way. And I think that is the fuel for me. It's like, how can I make a positive impact? It's not often that we think of the word adversity as being something that is fueling us. And yet you're bringing up such an important point, because I think for many of us, it is those moments coming over adversity or understanding where we see other people having to overcome adversity that really does fuel us to potentially dive in and do some of the work that we're doing. Talk to me about some of the sort of early inspirations that you've had from a leadership perspective, maybe somebody who's sort of inspired you in this type of work, in purpose work, and to help those that are overcoming adversity. I mean, for me, allyship is everything. We're working every day with leaders who want to help, want to create change, but they are still a little bit frightened about maybe getting it wrong or not being able to say the right thing. And I think having that ability to be really vulnerable with good intention, to come forward and say, how can we make this situation better? How do I engage? How do I understand what you need, not what I think you need? That will always be inspiring.
Talk to me as we sort of bring this around into the purpose work. Think back to some of your earliest memories. I mean, what has sort of inspired you specifically to get into purpose and responsible business work?
Well, I think being a bit different, but also being a bit of a chameleon. I mean, there's so many communities I'd say that I'd sit in, right? I'd sit in the queer community. I'm also part of the bisexual community, and as a child, that didn't exist. I mean, even if you ask people to name bisexual celebrities, particularly at the time I was growing up, the only one I could think of was Freddie Mercury, and still people don't actually acknowledge that either, and had so many different hobbies and was quite into sports, was quite into trying a bit of horse riding, but also I really like dance. So it's like, well, one thing I'm kind of wearing jeans and covered in mud, and the other thing it's like all these girls with nice nail polish, and every day is different in my job, and I'm speaking a different language, having a different conversation.
What I appreciate you highlighting, though, is that representation piece that you're talking about, right? For many of us growing up, that representation just wasn't even there. Right?
Yeah.
And so
Talk to me a little bit about the path that you've been on, because it's not, and for most of us, myself included, right, it's not a linear path. We didn't, I mean, unless something's changed, I don't think we grew up at 4 years old saying, I want to be in responsible business, right? It
didn't exist. I didn't know what I wanted to do at all, and what I loved doing actually was drama, and that is the first degree that I did. First of three, they all have changed as we sort of go along the path, and I still say to my mum, why didn't you make me do something more serious? I could be a really successful executive now, and she will go, well, now you are, but you had a great time along the way. And I think I'm a massive advocate for drama, whether it's young people, particularly in the age that we're growing up with now with social media, less physical contact. Had a great conversation with someone earlier doing some work on working with drama and young people and being able to present things. I think if you're an adult, the fear of God goes into you when you think about public speaking, go to a drama lesson. I think if you can do drama, you can do any job, right? Because it's about having confidence in the way you're speaking. So yeah, did a lot of that as I was younger, ended up getting into media. I did a master's in television production, really was involved in the PR side of things. But I've always had a thread of doing yoga because of my granny. Moved to the Caribbean, spent 5 years setting up a yoga business there, yoga, wellness, corporate wellness. That shifted to Hong Kong, where I did a similar thing but started integrating sustainable brands. Meanwhile, sort of always been an advocate for the LGBT community, ended up in India at a point there, did another degree in physiology and really studied the body, and then ended up back in London, thanks COVID, and was thrust into the corporate world when I finally was delighted to realise that I could do all of these things in the corporate world, and seem to have found a really good way of doing that, which is where I am today.
I really love you sharing each of those too, because I think what's interesting is at a glance, right, you may say, okay, each of these is so different and their interconnection doesn't make sense, and yet to your point, it actually does when you start to look at it, right? The through line between everything that you've experienced or you have felt drawn to really starts to show up. It's one of the things I feel passionate about, but we have to really encourage and support arts for young people, regardless of where that may go for them in their life, because it does set a very interesting and important foundation for many people into where they can then launch into careers that may not be related to the arts, but it creates a foundation that I think we sometimes underestimate, right? And we see that a lot. Talk to me a little bit about how you've seen some of that work you've done and some of the skills that you see that go into the yoga training that you've done, how that can then transfer back into the work that they're doing.
So much, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions about yoga. It has been tied to religion a lot in the past. If you dig back right into the history, it's a scientific medical practice. I think it's the fact that it is mindful movement. It's movement, but you're thinking about it. And I don't think you need to preach any of the yoga philosophy for it to transfer. If you are taking the time for yourself to be patient, to think about how you're moving, to do something healthy, you'll carry that into you. And I think it is about, if you could stand on one leg and feel kind of stressed and balanced, but you know to take a breath, that will come to you in a moment where you're sitting at the boardroom going, what am I going to say? And then you remember, I'll take a breath and I've got the skills I need.
I think this is a moment in time where many folks, especially in our field, are feeling stressed, right? We're at a moment where there is a lot of pressure. We are often very small but mighty teams, as I say, who are being asked to do an outsized amount of work and impact, where we're being feeling the pressure to do more with less. What are some of those skills that we can take, to your point, from yoga, from that centering, back into our work?
Yeah, and I always say small and mighty, not small but mighty. And we definitely are a small and mighty team. And self-care is really important. And I think, people can be over dramatic about it, particularly when they're casting negative assumptions about younger generations and, you need this and this and this. We've always needed that. You perhaps just haven't respected it. Strength is being able to ask and is being able to create those boundaries. And thankfully, the workplace, and COVID has quite a lot to thank for this, that we can be more flexible and say, I need this now. This will mean that I can give my best performance. And I think employers are starting to realise that that is the case.
Yeah, the tide is slowly turning. Yeah. And you're right, an unfortunate negative experience with the COVID-19 pandemic, but some of the positive glimmers that have come at it is realising that we could work differently. There is flexibility. And to your point, we need to be centering some of this well-being, our own self-care at the core, right? What sort of role or interconnection do you see between well-being and social impact and CSR?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, we could talk about that bit all day long. I think whether it's a sense of belonging and inclusion, whether it's a sense of being something bigger, from our industry perspective, we're seeing a huge talent gap. We're expecting 30% of our industry to retire in the next sort of 10, 15 years. And then we're trying to attract a younger generation that has very different values to come and join that. Without these kind of things, I think we'll really suffer. We've aligned our corporate impact strategy to link up with what we offer as a business. So then people are coming and using their skills in mentoring, teaching, coaching, but applying that to someone who is less fortunate, and they're getting a lot of good feeling, positive impact from that, which is making them think, well, this employee is actually doing something good. I want to stay and work for them.
There's already a clarity from that generation that their expectations are different, that there is a connection to sense of purpose, that there is a connection to societal impact, that there is flexibility in how we work and when we work, and that well-being is being sort of centered at that work. So who from prior generations or folks that you worked with really inspired you from a leadership perspective? And maybe it was very unexpected, but who might have been one of those influences, and in what way did they influence you in the way that you lead now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to keep this in the family and maybe try not to get emotional, but I'm going with my strong line of female leaders in my family. So my mum was head teacher of a special needs school, so spent her whole life helping other people, and sacrificing not only her work time, but her personal time and our time. And when our school holidays were spent going to her school to help out at the summer school camps and things. And she was incredibly inspiring. My gran, we talked about, the yogi, who spent a lot of her time working in the community with displaced families, following various conflicts around the world. But my favourite one is her grandmother's, my great-great-grandmother, who was the first lady in Burnley to get a driver's licence. She also was quite busy stuffing cash in the mattress so that when my great-great-grandfather lost all his money in the cotton exchange, they weren't destitute because she had a plan.
I love that, though. Such an inspiring line of strong women throughout your family.
I hope I live up to it.
Well, I would argue that you already are. So when you think back on your career, when you think back on the moments that you've experienced, what's maybe some of the feedback that you've gotten and received that's made you sort of reflect or change, and that maybe even still reflect on today?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is believe in yourself. I think there were people around me, and one manager particular in the past, who seemed to see something in me that I definitely didn't see. Which is great, but I mean, everyone has to get there in their own time. And I think, the more you can encourage people to maybe start that journey, the better. And it was actually during COVID where, to save myself from losing my mind, I had some coaching, which was transformational for my career. I think that was the exploration I needed to figure out what I was capable of. And so I decided that I need this power. It's a superpower. So I trained to be a coach, and now I help run the coaching network at Davies, and coaching is one of my most favourite things to do because it's nothing to do with me. I am not the skill, I am not the knowledge, I am literally a mirror shining back on somebody and trying to help them see their own potential and also decide their own path. A lot of the time with mentoring, people are giving advice, but that might not necessarily work for that particular person. Whereas for me, coaching is understanding what you need and how it will work for you. And I think if you can do that for someone, it's amazing.
It's such an important highlight because it's something that all of us need, right? And I think oftentimes when you are younger in your career, you look up to leaders who've been in the space for some time and you're thinking, oh, well, they must have just done all these specific amazing things or they just emerged this way. And they don't realize that all of us have been through a journey and all of us started in a place where we potentially weren't very confident. We needed that person to remind us to be our authentic selves, to believe in ourselves. Sometimes, to your point, even see something in us before we see it in ourselves and sort of encourage us. So I appreciate that you're doing that coaching work too, because it's critically important. Let's do a little reflection to your younger self.
Oh gosh.
So if you had a moment to really go back and talk to a young Gillie, what might you say as a coach to your younger self?
I mean, first of all, strap in. It's going to be a fun ride. Who would have known I've lived in 4 continents? And I mean, essentially, I see myself as a bit of a yogi nomad. But now I'm in the corporate world, and I still see myself sitting in boardrooms having conversations going, why are they listening to me? And I think that what I used to see as a disadvantage is actually an advantage. It's that diverse experience, that varied experience that I can bring. And I think it is about having that confidence. But if I'd have said anything to myself, would be ask more questions. Knowledge is power, as my dad always told me. And when I was younger, I felt if I asked a question, it would look like I didn't know, and that would be embarrassing or put me at a disadvantage. Whereas now, through that curiosity, ask the questions, learn more, drink more in, and the more you know, the more you'll be able to achieve.
It's such an important reminder for all of us, though, because I think we all still struggle with that at times, right? We just need to keep fostering that sense of curiosity. One of the things I love to do in What Fuels You is just do a very quick rapid fire.
Oh, God.
I promise it will be
No
easy.
idea what's coming here.
Coffee, tea, something else.
Tea.
Tea for sure. Seemed like it. Late nights, early mornings.
Oh, that's hard. I'm going with late nights.
Late nights, okay, yeah. Is there something specific about late nights that like draws you in?
My love of raving and Ibiza.
What in that moment where you feel chaos and noise, what helps reset?
Music is everything.
What type of music in that moment?
Every kind. Yeah, there's a song for every moment, and I am hugely emotionally supported by music.
I love that. Cats, dogs, or something else?
Cats.
Cats, yeah, okay. Do you have a cat?
I have had many cats in the past, but I live on the 10th floor of a block now, so not ideal.
What is one value that you won't compromise on?
Authenticity.
Yeah.
I can't lie very well. I can definitely present the right picture, but if I feel very strongly about something that I believe shouldn't be happening, don't even try and stop me from saying it.
I love that. That's fantastic. As you sort of look toward the work that we're all doing in the corporate social impact space, the opportunity we have, what's bringing you hope as you kind of look toward the future?
Yeah, I mean, continued support in a time of turbulence. We've recently totally restructured our foundation. When we were creating it, we were in 2-3 countries. We're now in 22 countries. So we really had to do quite a bit of work to make sure it was still fit for purpose. So I'm really hopeful that with that new structure, we can target our support, start to measure it, and really bring people in, bring their skills and maximise that. I'm really looking forward to partnering with your cause as well, so we can maximise that impact.
Yeah. So one last question. What do you see in the future for yourself as you continue to want to drive more purpose? What are some of the things that you are excited about in the future potentially for Gillie?
It's hard to know what's going to open up. I mean, if I look back on my last 10 years, I wouldn't have even imagined the things that I've done. So anything is possible. But yeah, I think amplifying impact, looking for those opportunities to make a difference, probably seeking out the adversity, because that seems to be what I'm drawn to, and seeing where I can make that change. But I think, yeah, the theme of what keeps me fueled, see what I did there, is being passionate about something. You know, I often say this to people, you know, when I'm coaching them on public speaking, if you look like you care, then the audience will care too. And it's the same with my work and my authenticity. If I don't care, good luck trying to get me to do it. But if I do care, good luck trying to stop me.
Yeah, I love that. It's true, right? The passion and authenticity for each of us is really what sustains us, right? Not something that fuels us just in that moment, but fuels us for the long term. Gillie, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation, for sharing a little bit about your own personal journey and everything that you've experienced, and for joining me for this What Fuels You live discussion.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining.